Good morning and welcome back to Friday's edition of Bernama Today. Well, before we bring on our guest today, let's take a little bit a look about him. And in 1977, he traveled to the United States to participate in a kendo demonstration at a martial art convention and saw a demonstration by Takashi Kushida, which subsequently brought about an interest to train Aikido. He was introduced to Yoshinkan Aikido, and in 2006 he was awarded a 7th Dan, and in 2011 he was awarded the title Shihan. He currently teaches in his own dojo at the Aikido Yoshinkai Burnaby Dojo in Burnaby, British Columbia. With us on Bernama Today is Robert Mustard Sensei from Canada. Sensei, a very good morning to you, and thank you very much for making time to be with us.
It's my pleasure.
It's your first trip to Malaysia?
Yes, my first time. Ramlan Sensei said he was always going to bring me, but it took him 9 years, but I'm here.
Right.
And I'm having a great time.
It took you 9 years to get here, but
Yes.
you're here for a seminar that's happening over the weekend,
Yes,
and that's also going to be followed by a public demonstration.
Yes.
Right. Before we continue talking about what's going to happen here, let's talk about you going to Japan in 1986.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, you went there in 1986.
I went to 1986, and I was going to stay for 1 year, but I stayed for 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was that experience like? I mean, getting there at the peak. If my research serves me right, that was the peak of Yoshinkan Aikido when the great teacher.
I think it was a real golden era, and that's when Gozo Shoda was really impressive and dynamic. And I think his top two students, Takino Sensei and Chida Sensei, were absolutely brilliant, and I was lucky. I don't consider Gozo Shoda my teacher because he didn't really show me anything. It was very traditional. If you were making a mistake, he wouldn't correct you. He would get some of the teachers to come correct you. But after a while, I did start taking his uke, so he would use me to do techniques. And I wish I could tell you I knew what he was doing, but to this day, I still don't understand it.
Well, for those of us who don't know who Gozo Shoda is, he is the founder of a style of Aikido known as Yoshinkan Aikido. So there's Yoshinkan Aikido, there are different styles of Aikido, or forms to be exact. Can you walk us through these forms?
Well, I think the biggest difference between Yoshinkan Aikido and other forms of Aikido is we have set basic movements. Other forms of Aikido, they don't really have them. I think it's all good. I only know Yoshinkan. I've never really practiced another style of Aikido. I'm a Yoshinkan guy through and through. I think the forms are a very, very good way to teach in the beginning, and eventually it becomes formless anyways. But I think if the teachers are good and if they're dedicated, it doesn't matter which form you practice.
Right. So from 1986, you were there for 9 years. You subsequently ended up teaching within the main dojo, the main school in Tokyo. Yeah. Well, what was that experience like teaching there?
It was incredible. I was really lucky. We have an expression called "I had my cake and ate it too," because I was in Japan. I was doing a job that I really enjoyed, which was teaching English. And I was teaching full time at the dojo also. The teaching was a great experience. I had a reputation as a really hard, stubborn guy, and it was probably true. It was probably true.
Yeah, at least that's what we've heard.
Yeah. And most people when they meet me, they're a bit shocked that I don't have this fierce persona, and I'm always walking around ready to punch people because I'm not that way.
And that's exactly what I heard. So when I came into work this morning, I was choking and I'm saying, "Oh man, this guy's really strict. No, what am I going to do?"
You should see my wife if you want to see strict. But in the dojo, I think it's really important. You have to have. I mean, as I've gotten older, I've changed. When I was in Japan, I went to Japan when I was 29, and I was probably really hard. And now now I joke in class, and even my senior students don't laugh. But before that, I never joked. I was very martial all the time.
Right. You see, when a teacher is hard and when he subsequently loosens out or becomes chilled out, it's because his approach to teaching changes. And do you think that's happened to you?
I think, what happens is you kind of get the confidence where you don't always have to be strong, and you don't always have to be fearsome. And I don't know if it's true, but someone told me, my teacher in Japan, who I had a very good relationship with, was very fierce. And they said when he had his first child, he changed. And someone said to me once, I was really fierce and scary all the time. And after my daughter was born, I changed. I'm not sure about that, but probably to a certain extent. But I think as you get older too, you realize you don't always have to be ready to fight all the time. And the most important thing we get from the training is that it makes your life better. And the truth is, I've been training now in martial arts for almost 40 years. I've never hit anyone in anger yet.
And for like we watch a lot of movies, and in the movies they say that when a Caucasian goes to Japan and train, you've got some of you are treated like gaijins. Does that culture still exist?
I believe so. I fought a lot of battles, and and a lot of people didn't like me because I was a foreigner. But I tried hard. I tried my best. I always felt, seriously, I felt I was always representing Canada and my teacher, Kimeta Sensei in Toronto. I always felt I had to represent him. So I always trained hard, always tried my best. And the teachers liked that. And some of the other people didn't like that too much. I actually had a guy, believe it or not, come up to me and told me he hated me.
Well, a guy training within the class?
Yeah. It was at a wedding, believe it or not. It was one of the Uchideshi's weddings, and we were there, and he came up to me and said, "Oh, Mustard Sensei, so good to see you. I have to tell you, I hate you."
And how do you react to that?
I don't
Thank
know.
you.
I said, I said,
Yeah.
Thank you know, okay, fine. And he said, "You're white. It's a Japanese martial art. You're stronger than anyone in the dojo except the head teacher. That's not right." So basically, it was kind of a backhanded compliment. But what do you say to something like that? I just said, "Okay, well, let's train together." He said, No. But that's just how it is. I mean, I always just did what I was told. I tried to do my best for Yoshinkan Aikido, always.
And there's a perception when it comes to Aikido or any Japanese martial art or foreign martial art for the matter, especially in Malaysia, saying if a Caucasian or a Malaysian teaches the art, as opposed to a Japanese teaching it, is not as good as the Japanese. And does that ring true still?
I don't think
Because
so.
I've seen a lot of that happen.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people leave a class of a really good teacher to go and train simply because they know that the Japanese guy is coming down.
Well, I understand totally. And, you know, and I think now there are some places outside of Japan that offer very, very good training. And I don't think you have to be Japanese to be good at the martial arts.
Right.
But there is a cultural thing that sometimes, for example, even in my dojo, sometimes I can still be quite strict. And I can see some people's surprise if I yell at them because they look at me, wait a minute, I'm paying you to teach me this. Why are you yelling at me?
Right.
But so there is a kind of attitude that we have to have that I believe is important for training. And I don't think you have to be Japanese to get that. But if you're in experience or in a place where that experience happens a lot, I think you can pick it up. But again, it's a little different. I did a bit quite different training from the regular Japanese. The regular Japanese training was not very hard. I trained with the instructors and in the, they call it the instructors programs.
It's called the Senshusei?
I did that, and then I also taught the Senshusei. But even the regular classes, they have what's called Kenshu, which were in the morning and afternoon, and then they had the regular classes in the evening. And I never went to the regular classes because I was working.
Right.
But the regular classes were quite laid back, easy, and I used to think sometimes, wow, I see people do things that would get us killed in the morning class, but they could do it because it was just a little bit different.
Right. A Senshusei program is something they run in Japan within the Yoshinkan Aikido, and it's basically, correct me if I'm wrong, riot police training.
Yes.
And does that still, do they still have these
You know what?
classes?
I'm not 100% sure what's going on there now. There's not so much information that we hear about. I hear it's still going on. What happened was the police basically went to the Hombu Dojo, and they didn't make a regular course for the police. The regular police
The Hombu Dojo is the main dojo.
The regular police joined all what they call the Uchideshi training, and it was quite severe, and the training was, I'm not going to say brutal, but it was very difficult and very hard. And the interesting thing is when I saw that training, I thought, I'm not doing that.
Right.
I'm not doing that. But the next year when the course started, they had the first day, and all the police lined up over there. We were all over here, and the teacher at the time, Takano Sensei, just said, Robert, stand over there. I was in.
Right.
9 months later, he said, good job. That's all. And it was...
Well, was it really tough when you look back?
I can honestly tell you, hand on my heart, it was the worst 9 months of my life.
Right.
But as a martial artist, and I'm sure there's some people out there who understand, it was also the best 9 months of my life. It was hard because I was training so much, I wasn't working, I wasn't making a lot of income. But all I did was basically eat and train for 9 months. And I'm a little bit bigger now, but when I finished the instructor's course, I was probably 75 kilos.
I mean, it was just hard training.
It was
every day.
hard training all the time. And, you know, I never puked, but many times we would, you know, if you passed out, they would just drag you and pull you off to the corner and leave you. So.
Well, by the way, the video now playing is my beloved cousin, my hero.
Yes.
And I've looked up to him from the time I was 10, and I'm now 15. Yeah.
Joe Tambu Sensei is an absolute superb, top-notch Aikido, and the best thing I like about Tambu Sensei is that he's a better man.
Right.
And him and I trained together a lot in Japan, and he's just phenomenal.
So with the training of Aikido, and when you look at this, it seems very much like a dance, and there's a lot of criticism that comes with that. You know,
Yes.
people think that Aikido there's not enough realism in Aikido. When you talk to guys in MMA, and I've seen a lot of these guys mouth off, a lot of guys from MMA, a lot of guys from UFC, they say, you know, will Aikido stand the test of time? Is it relevant in today's world? Your thoughts on that?
I think I think if you do it like a martial art, I think it can be very effective. Like I said, I've never hit anyone in anger, but I believe, especially with Yoshinkan Aikido, and in my dojo, we try to do what I learned from my teachers. We do hard strikes, hard blocks, hard throws, hard attitude. And I think if you do it that way, then the training, the training will save you. It's not going to let you down. But there's a price to pay for that. And some people aren't prepared to do that sweating, to be hit, to be thrown really hard. And there's many different forms. I don't think there's any bad forms of Aikido, but there can be some bad teachers. And some people, you get out of it what you put into it, maybe what you want.
Right.
I've seen other forms of Aikido that look very soft to me, but when they've done the technique on me, it was very hard and it was very painful. The interesting thing is I don't believe Aikido should be painful now.
But you don't believe Aikido should be painful?
No, I think for me in my dojo, from what I learned, it has nothing to do with pain compliance. But you can do it with pain, and my body's a bit beat up actually.
Right.
After
So if you're slapping someone on the ground like that, beating him to a bloody pulp, how is it not pain
well,
compliant?
I mean, I can remember once listening to Gozo Shoda do a demonstration, and he was talking about how when I throw my students, they really like it, and I thought, how can they like that?
Right.
But it's true. If someone throws you correctly with correct timing, no matter how hard they throw you, it feels incredible. And actually, last night I was training in Ramlan Sensei's dojo, and it was very interesting because
Ramlan Sensei, by the way, is one of the better teachers in Kuala Lumpur, and he has his own class. He's been promoting Aikido a lot within Malaysia.
And he's also very top notch. But it was interesting if you talk to some of the students, every time I threw someone, when they got up, they were smiling.
Right.
It's supposed to, and it can look very fierce, don't get me wrong. But if you throw with the right timing and the right attitude, it's actually wonderful. And I've taken Uke, attacked Gozo Shoda, and it was very interesting because it was really kind of exhilarating and scary all at the same time. And he hit me really hard in the jaw, and I almost broke up laughing because it just felt not masochistic, it felt right. And the perfect timing, I hit the mat, I got up, and I wanted to break up laughing. I couldn't because it was a demonstration.
So how does that translate into self-defense? You know, I mean, you want the throws to be right. You don't want it to be painful.
Yes.
What is it meant to do? Is it meant to subdue a person?
For our training, we have to make sure we can continue training. So we don't want to injure each other when we're training. If it's someone, and I tell you can cause pain doing Aikido, just do that on people you don't like. But like I said, I haven't done that.
Right.
I haven't done that. And to be honest, one seminar I did, I sent 2 people to the hospital. So Ramlan students, you better be careful this weekend. Maybe. But I sent 2 people to the hospital, and I felt horrible because one was closer than my brother. And the other one was just a young, strong man who wanted to be thrown hard, so I threw him hard. And just sometimes those things happen, but I felt horrible. And in terms of fighting, I don't know because I've never done it.
Right.
I've never done it. I think if you have the right attitude, it's fine. But again, you have to train with that right attitude. And sometimes the thing that surprises me about martial arts is people will usually study martial art because they want to be able to defend themselves, but they don't want to acquire the attitude that will allow them to use the martial art, no matter which martial art it is. And sometimes it can become a little bit of a dance. And I always talk in my dojo, it's like you can punch like this all you want until you hit something, and then you're in big trouble. So you have to train correctly. And in my dojo, we practice strong strikes, strong blocks. We don't kick in Aikido, but my background before Aikido was in a Chinese style of martial arts, so I can kick. Not very well now, but I could kick.
Yeah, but why did you give up? I know you did 2 or 3 different martial arts prior to taking up Aikido, or when you took up Aikido, you were still training these arts, and then you let that go to focus just on Aikido. Why was that?
That's a really good question, and the truth is, I just knew. I always tell people, in terms of martial arts, the best martial art is the one that you will do. And if you want to even talk about physical activity, the best one is what you will do. And it doesn't matter. If you don't like running, you'll never run. But if you find an activity that you like, you will do it. And at one point I was doing Chinese Kung Fu and Kendo and Aikido all at the same time. And I just knew. And I knew that Aikido was a martial art for me. I don't know how or why, I just knew. And that was 37 years ago. And of course I haven't practiced every day, but pretty much I've been full on for 37 years. So I think I was right.
And with Aikido, the only promotion Aikido has got in mainstream media was Steven Seagal going
Yeah,
out there making a
brilliant.
few movies.
We owe him a big debt.
Right, and of course, when it comes to Yoshinkan Aikido, there was a book written by Robert Trigger. It's called Angry White Pajamas.
Yes, yeah.
I'd read it with a pinch of salt, though.
Yeah.
But
No, it was true.
yeah.
It's really close to the bone, a little bit true. But like I said, there was an attitude that you have, the old style training, there was an attitude that you had to have, especially if you wanted to be an instructor.
Right, right.
Yeah, so it was true. It was really hard.
So learning that attitude and now going back to Canada and starting your own school back at home.
Yeah.
When you train hard and when you teach hard, can people take that? A lot of people want to come in, do martial arts as recreation.
Honestly, no, I think, and it because it's difficult. And when I first started, I was still pretty hard. I had 8 students.
Right.
After 2 years, I had 8 students. I was also working, but I was only teaching part time, and I'm still pretty strict. But I think I've mellowed out in the sense that Aikido is for everyone, but not everyone can become strong.
Right.
And not everyone can become a teacher, but if you like the movements and it makes your life better, that's really what it should be. When you come to the dojo, it should be an enjoyable, uplifting experience, and then you take that into your other life. I really understand now that this stuff has to enhance your life. And I think Aikido's made me a better person because I realized the most important thing we have to learn is you got to get out what you put in. If you work hard, you will get strong.
So is it true when they say that you need to separate your customers from your students? Or at least that's what I hear.
You know what? I totally agree.
Yeah.
And because, like I said, before I was always hard. And it's very interesting. I have one young student. He's 31 now. He's been with me for 11 years. And I wish you guys could see him. Actually, I think you said you have a video of me. He's my '1 uke. And
Right. He was the guy. Yeah, we just played that video.
He did every class.
Can we roll that video again, please?
For every class for 7 years, he showed up. And he trained very, very hard. And he's now a 4th degree black belt.
Right.
And basically, I don't know how it sounds, but I don't consider him a success because I think he's a special young man. No matter what martial art or activity he went to, he would be very, very spectacular.
Right.
And I'm lucky that he found me, but he says he's the lucky one, but I think I'm really the lucky one. But I don't, it sounds weird, but I don't consider him a success story. Because I think he would have been great no matter what. He just found me, and when he first came to the dojo, he didn't speak any English.
Right. I think we have to roll the other video, which shows Robert Sensei throwing his student, and we'd like to highlight this guy a little bit. He's been training for 11 years.
Yeah,
how often does he train?
Well, now he's back to training twice a week, and he teaches once a week. But before that, before he kind of got married and had a family, he was training every class.
There he is? Yeah. Your uke. So an uke is the person who takes the fall for the teacher, or when you're training, there's a guy who's called the shite. The guy who does the technique, and the guy who takes the fall is the uke. So you have to be pretty fit and agile to take falls like this.
Yeah, he's a fine young man. But like I said, I think he would have been great no matter what.
Right.
I have a couple people now who, when they first came to the dojo, they were all hunched over. They couldn't look me in the eye. But now they stand up straight.
Right.
And they try hard. Are they killers? No. You know, are they very, very powerful? No. But they love the training. They said it's helped them. And that's really what it should be. We say Aikido. The do part means a way. So we're using the techniques of Aikido to enhance our life.
So over the weekend, you'll be teaching a seminar with Joe Tambu Sensei. And at a seminar, essentially what happens at a seminar? Do you get Aikido and non-Aikido people, or just Aikido people?
Well, we've done both. And I think Ramlan told me that this weekend there might be some people who don't do Aikido, so we might have to modify some of the techniques a little bit. But Joe and I have taught together a lot, and I think we really work well together. So what happens is when I teach a class, he'll be walking around helping, and then when he teaches a class, I'll be walking around. So people get two for one.
So it's happening over the weekend in Bukit Jalil. Of course, we've got the website. You can get details there as to what's happening. But the more important thing is, if you haven't yet sampled Aikido, what would be great to see is a public demonstration. And a Yoshinkan demonstration is not one of those 2-3 hour demonstrations which bores you out of your head. It's all been done very scheduled very well, so in an hour you'll get to see from the very young to the very senior train and what do you call it, do techniques and perform free techniques. It's going to be very interesting. It's happening this Sunday. If it's possible, we can put the website on the screen, please. Coming back to you, Sensei, now that you're back in Canada, you're teaching your own class, expanding from in Canada, do you want to expand to different parts of Canada? get your students to go out and teach?
If
to
they
spread
want to,
the art?
they want to, yes. But I don't push them that way. We're still a small dojo. We're growing. Last year we had our 10th anniversary, so it's only in our 11th year. If realistically, most of my students don't want to teach. I'm not really interested in expanding anywhere. I have a nice little small, humble 50-mat dojo with some good students, and that's good enough for me now. And I have a reputation, I think, it's quite good, I think. It's not so good for me to say that, but I've been told that people consider my dojo one of the premier places to practice on the planet.
Well, if you're going to train outside Japan, I don't know what's left in Japan, but if you're going to train outside Japan, there's a couple of countries you can go to, and one of those who are great countries would be Canada, because Robert Sensei teaches there, and in Australia there's Joe Sensei.
Yeah, absolutely. And also Darren Friend Sensei,
Darren
who teaches
Friend,
in Sydney, and he's top notch. And also Maury, who did the same instructor's course as me, he's in Brisbane, and he's also top notch. So we're quite lucky in the West. I think there's some really top-notch Yoshinkan people out there.
And for those of us who want to take up martial arts, some of us are in our 30s, 40s, so I'd like to take up martial arts, but I'm afraid of it. What kind of tip could you give people who want to start martial arts but are holding back simply because they may be injured, so on and so forth? For parents who want to send their kids for martial arts, you get so many people advertising stuff to you.
I think if you're an adult and if you're a bit older, you have to train smart.
Right.
And every time I still let my students throw me around, and every time I train like I'm 22 years old, for 2 days it's pretty hard to walk, because I don't know, I'm 57, and I'll be 58 in May. So, but I still can train a bit. And I think if you're a bit older, you have to know your limits, and you have to push it a little bit sometimes. For parents, interesting enough, for my kids' class, I don't have that many kids, but I don't use color belts, I don't have badges. My job is to make them sit up and pay attention, which is also interesting and very difficult to do sometimes. But it's interesting for me that my kids aren't afraid of me at all. All my adult students are afraid of me. I don't know why. But my kids aren't. They think I'm a bit of a big goof. And I have fun. And I don't know how many 7-dans out there still teach kids. But for me, it's kind of fun. But I don't have badges. I don't have rank. I don't have tests for the kids. And even for the adult class, I don't have different color belts. We just go white, brown, black. And no one's complained so far.
So don't forget, Robert Sensei will be teaching in Kuala Lumpur this weekend. It's going to be followed through with a fantastic public demonstration that's free. It's happening at Bukit Jalil. If you need more details, go to this website. That's www.aikidoshudokan.my. You'll get all the information you want about the great demonstration happening over the weekend. Before I let you go, your take-home message to Malaysians who have for the first time got to sample, or rather see, this great man. A lot of us have read about you.
Thank you very much for coming out and supporting Yoshinkan Aikido, especially Rahman Sensei. He's a fine man. He's trying his best, and the more support we can give him, the easier it will be for him.
And before we sign off today, what we want to do is remember someone who started this style of Aikido, this form of Aikido, Yoshinkan Aikido, was started by, or rather founded by, Gozo Shioda. We've got a video of him. We're going to roll that for you before we end the show. On behalf of our team, the Bernama Today team, I'm Jared Ratnam signing off. We'll be back on Monday with more for you. Robert Sensei.
Thank you very much. Absolute pleasure.
It was a pleasure having you in the studios.
Pleasure was mine. Thank you very much.
Come back again, please.
I will. Thank you.
On that note, have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday, and let's take a look at the founder of Yoshinkan Aikido.